Hi everyone, this is Tim. Welcome to North and South podcast. This is going to be a creativity podcast, which is a big thing for me because I think creativity and mental health go hand in hand. I also think creativity is a big part of living the good life, as I see it. And also, if you think about, the importance of history, the importance of politics, the importance of like economic survival, all the other themes that I look at, for me, creativity is a thing which I think is sidelined far too often, particularly in education. And Jude can maybe offer her own opinions on that in a moment. But I am really honoured to introduce to you today Jude Lennon, who is an author and a general creator. I think, Jude, is the best way of summing it up. So, how are you? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on. I'm Jude Lennon. I am a professional storyteller. I'm an author, mostly children's picture books, although I've done chapter books and I've also done 2 books for grown-ups as well, including a novel. And I'm also heavily involved in the Liverpool Literacy Cycle, which is a 3-year rolling programme to encourage reading, writing and spoken word across the city region. And I am part of a CIC called Split Perspectives with a fellow author, Natalie Reeves-Billing.
That was comprehensive. Brilliant. So it sounds like you've got a few things going on and you're quite talented. Now, from my perspective, when I first heard that you used to be a teacher, I'm a teacher, and I'm sure we can talk about teaching till the cows come home. But you've left teaching to go into this kind of thing. Was that kind of you chasing your dreams kind of thing, or how would you describe your transition from teaching to what you're doing now?
Yeah, well, I came out of teaching, 2014, so 9 years now. And unfortunately, like a lot of people in the profession, it was down to my mental health. Yeah, so I had acute anxiety, stress, and the doctor just basically said I had to take some time out. That was the end of it. I just had to, and I knew I wasn't well because I didn't want to read and I didn't want to write. And they're 2 things I do every day, just like breathing and eating. So I knew I wasn't well. And it was while I was off really that I started to think really deep and hard about, did I want to go back into education? I mean, it was the only thing I wanted to do from the age of 5 was be a teacher. I absolutely loved it. I loved the children. I taught early years, so they're just an absolute delight. But I had to seriously ask myself if that was what I wanted to do. I went to see, I was with my union. I went up to the Lake District and saw Taffy Thomas, who's got a storyteller's garden up in Grasmere. And he did some storytelling workshops with us. And I just sat there and it was like the light bulb moment. And I just thought, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set up a storytelling business. So I did. And then that's kind of, as things do, then you start to write. Well, I'd always written for the children in my class. I'd written the class assemblies, the Christmas plays. I've got a folder like this full of Christmas plays, that I've written over the years. So I'd always written, but it was the storytelling that started my business. And then I went off into the writing as well. So yeah, it was the stories that saved me.
You know what? It's interesting because I used to work for the NEU, or as it was, the NUT, as a union caseworker. And I've been teaching for 23 years. And it used to be a bit of a thing like, oh, teachers, do you get great summer holidays? But now all I get is, I don't know how you do it. Because I think there has been a bit of a shift change in people's perceptions of how tough the job is. And we can talk again for 1,000 years about what's happened to teaching over the past, I think, 15 years in particular, and why so many good people are leaving the profession and what is happening in schools. And I think it's another podcast. I don't know whether you'd
Yeah,
be interested in contributing
absolutely.
to that, but I might try and get a few ex-teachers on and current teachers just to talk about the situation on the front line, as it were. But your story is not an unusual one. And I'm just so happy to see someone as talented as you go into something where you feel more at peace with yourself and doing something you absolutely love. How scary was it initially getting going with all that? Because, I mean, I would love to just stop.
Yeah.
I've got to watch what I'm saying here because I'm still teaching, but
Yeah, I
I
know.
would love to chase my dreams, as it were. So, how scary was it at first?
Oh, very. Because I had no idea about running a business. I'd run my classroom. That is like running a business, I suppose. You've got 30 micro people to manage and everything. But I had no idea about HMS. HMRC, tax, nothing. I had no clue, absolutely no idea. So it was really scary, but I've been able to tap into lots of great business support over the years. There's courses that people put on. I went to the library, Central Library, and got some great advice from there as well. The women's org were fantastic. And then I joined a networking group called Biz Mums, which is no longer going. I mean, I'm not a mum, but I am a female, obviously I'm a woman. And that was a brilliant network. And all those people kind of held my hand along the way, because inevitably you make mistakes, and you write this business plan, which you never look at ever again, So yes, it was scary, but do you know what? I don't regret for a second doing what I did. I don't regret coming out of teaching. It was definitely the right thing for my physical well-being, my mental well-being. And I still spend an awful lot of time in schools. So it's like the best of both worlds. I still get to be with the children, but I literally do go home at 3:30, unlike the teachers. Unlike people used to think, you're going to go home at 3:30. I do go home at 3:30. The teachers are there till 6, So So I do feel really
good. And I mean, I've spoken to a few people who've made those big changes in life, and it has been scary. And I've set up a CIC to do with podcasting in North and South, which I want to pick your brain about a few things, actually, because our co-friend Dave McCluskey, who's also an author who's been on the podcast before and is a big creative, he told me to speak to you about, how to work more closely with various organisations and schools where you can leave and go, right, I've had a lovely day and the kids have learned a lot and I haven't got all the administration now, so I can go home. So it'd be good to pick your brain about things.
Absolutely.
But I've got a lot of great advice off people like Dave, and speaking to you, I'm sure you'll be a fountain of knowledge, but speaking to other people who've been there and who've took those risks and those leaps, it makes things a lot easier. And I've got a little book of all the people I've spoken to. One of my early podcast guests, Steve Reed, left teaching and went into a CIC, and he's really, has gone from strength to strength. And sometimes you've got to have that initial bottle to make the leap and then, hit the ground running, as it were. But well done on making that transition and to where you are today.
I'd love to just share a quote from when I taught in London for a long time. I lived down there for 11 years. And there were two guys, Wizard Stories, Gary and Phil, and they ran a storytelling business. And they used to come into the schools all the time. And I was still in touch with them. And I remember phoning Phil and saying, I think I'm going to leave teaching and go into storytelling, but I don't know what I'm doing. And he went, don't worry, darling. He said, just sometimes you've got to take the leap of faith and grow your wings on the way down and just make sure they sparkle. And I thought that stayed with me. It absolutely hasn't. You're right. It's just taking that jump and going. So, yeah.
And again, others have said, like, obviously you need to do a little bit of spade work before you make the leap. But ultimately you do get to a point where you say, right, I need to jump now, even though, because you wait for 1,000 years for everything to be perfect, and you just got to take that leap. And that's fantastic advice. So you've got your own website, Jude. So you already mentioned briefly what you write. So on your website, it tells you, there's lots of information about what you do and your resources and your writings. Do you want to tell us about your website and a little bit more about what you write? Because, I mean, you mentioned it briefly before, but what kind of things you write and what you spend most of your time doing?
Yeah, sure. So the website Little Lamb Publishing. I know this isn't video, but this is for Tim's benefit. So this is Lammy, who is my mascot, Little Lamb Tales. And
that was a lamb, a little sheep, by the way.
Yeah. So he's my mascot and features in a lot of the books that I've written. So but the very first book I did was actually The Dragon of Allerton Oak, which is set in the park around the corner from here, and is about the actual Allerton Oak. And I remember walking past it one day and thinking, because it's been obviously it's allegedly 1,000 years old and it's looking a bit worse for wear. And it's split and all kinds. And I looked at the tree and thought, I bet a dragon's done that. And, as you do, these ideas just pop in your head. So I write predominantly children's picture books because that's where I was, in my career. I'd read thousands of picture books to children over the years, reread thousands of books to children over the years. And so that's where my passion was. That's what I knew. They always say you should write what you know and what you love. So that's what I did. And then obviously I started to write the stories about the lambs because there's 5 of them in the Little Lamb Tales altogether. And they're just lovely adventures, astronauts, pirates, exercise, camping, knights and dragons and things like that appeal to children. Yes, and some of them were stories I'd actually written years and years ago for children to go around topics, pirates and space, and I just adapted them and included the lambs in them. So I'm just really passionate about getting children to enjoy books and stories and words and literacy, because if you can learn to read and communicate effectively, the world's your oyster. You can teach yourself anything, you can go anywhere, you can meet people, you can interact. And I think that is such an important thing to have. And also, reading for pleasure is such a great thing for mental health as well. If you're having a bad day, you can pick up a book, and it might be one that you've read before, and you just go into it because you think this is my safe place, this is where I'm happy. It could be a comedy book that makes you just laugh in your darkest moments when it's just what you need at that time. I just think reading is just an all over, it's a hug between paper, and I think that's what we all need from time to time. So I just want children to have access to stories, and books, and real books, not on Kindles, actually physically holding them and turning the pages, and having grown-ups to read to them. As you probably know yourself from teaching and education, there's really sad statistics, and like 1 in 9 children don't own their own book, and a lot of children don't have a regular bedtime story, which is so crucial for establishing great bedtime routines, but also links with family as well and other adults, and I just think for me, it's what I'm absolutely passionate about. And the author visits sort of link that I do in schools. I go into schools and do storytelling workshops and author visits and talk to the children about how I became an author, because I think that's really important as well, that they see that I'm just a normal person. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not an ex-footballer or an ex-singer who's released a book. I'm just Jude. I'm just me. And anyone can do it. Anyone can write great stories or be a brilliant illustrator or work with books or be a librarian. And that's the whole premise really of my author visits, is that this is something that everyone should have the ability to do and have access to do. And you don't have to be anyone special to do it.
That's fantastic. I couldn't agree more. And we were reading a book in form in one of my schools, and we were reading George Orwell, 1980, no, Animal Farm, sorry. And I said to the kids, this is one of the best books I've ever read. And I started reading to them. And there was a few of them who were getting the political stuff and a few who were just taking it at face value. But it was brilliant. And I think that just reading to people and understanding the written word, the spoken word, and the way you say the spoken word, the storytelling dimension is basically the essence of humanity and civilization. And it sends you, it gives you advantages, but it gives the whole group advantages. And I'm sure we can discuss the changes in the curriculum, which kicked in about, I don't know if it's about 10 years now, and a lot of the creativity going out of schools. But it is very, very sad. And then you heard recently, like everyone has to do maths until they're 18, no matter what, that kind of thing, which again, yeah, fair enough. I know what you're trying to say and what you're trying to do, but creativity is just such a gift. It gives meaning to life, and to neglect that as we do, I think it's to everyone's loss. I really do. And well done for all you do. And now, as well as your publishing, you write children's books, and you do a lot of children's literature. You do a few other types. Do you want to tell us a little bit about those before we go any further?
Yeah, sure. So the picture books is the main thing. I've done a couple of chapter books, which I wrote with Will Hawkes, who's autistic, and he did the illustrations, but it's very much Will's input into the story. He wanted to produce books that were not available to him when he was learning to read. And so they've got short chapters, the books are not long, not over complicated vocabulary, and they follow a teenager called Hal, and he gets put into certain social situations, which Will has experienced as well, or similar situations. And he can either react A or B. And A is when he gets overwhelmed by the whole situation. And B is when he has a technique which calms him down and allows him to make sense of the situation. And they've been they were an absolute joy to work on. It's interesting because we're recording this on the 2nd of April, which is actually Autism Awareness Day. So yeah. Quite nice to talk about it on today. And they've been such profound impact on Will's life. When I first met him, he didn't make eye contact. He didn't really want to have anything to do with the publishing side of the book, the publicity. He didn't want to talk to people about it, didn't want to be interviewed, go in a newspaper. He didn't want to do anything. in his words, he wanted to put one of those old-fashioned diver hats on and just hide and pretend it wasn't happening. But those books have allowed him to go on radio, be filmed. He gave a talk at a conference with 250 young people in a room with him, talking to them. He's now at college. He's at Edge Hill University studying art and creativity. And they have opened up so many opportunities for him. They've given him confidence and purpose. And they've been amazing. So that was an amazing thing to be part of. I'm really proud of those. And I also was heavily involved in writing the books for the Slow Down for Bobby campaign as well. Again, immensely proud of those and the fact that I was able to use words to help educate children and grown-ups about the importance of road safety and parking outside schools. And then I've done my novels as well. So I've done a novel for grown-ups and a collection of short stories for grown-ups. And that was a different process completely to writing for children, because obviously I'm used to writing 500 words and the HAL books were, a little bit longer. But 70,000 words is a lot when you're used to writing 500. So it was a much longer process, but actually it was really, really freeing, because obviously you can write about things that you don't touch on in children's literature. And the short stories were a joy for that as well, because I could focus on lots of different things. And I think sometimes people are a bit surprised that I had a dark side. They're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. And that's quite nice to sort of shock people a little bit. There's nothing too awful in there. But just to make it a bit different, and people expecting, oh, happy little lambs and loveliness. And then it's like, oh, okay. So that was quite nice, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think Dave McCluskey said as well, he has a few different things that he does. And I think I even mentioned to Dave in that podcast, I think it was Ian Banks or Ian M. Banks, the late Scottish author. And he used to write sci-fi and then more kind of present day novels. And he'd just go back and forth depending on his creative process, really, and how he was feeling. And how important is creativity to you in terms of expression or whatever? And how do you discipline yourself? Because I know some authors say, I write this many words a day, no matter what. And then you have people who have writer's block. So how do you kind of approach writing and creativity?
Yeah. Well, firstly, creativity is vital. I love dancing, I love singing, I love writing, I love reading. I can't draw for toffee, but I love fiddly, crafty stuff, that kind of thing. So I just love creativity. I love thinking creatively to solve problems as well, that kind of thing, okay, we've got to face this issue, so what we're going to do to get around it. That anything creative, I just love it. I think it's wonderful. And I appreciate art, love going to art galleries and theatre, love going to the theatre. Just seeing it, hearing it all, just being immersed in that creative world is vital. In terms of how I discipline myself, if I'm actually working on a book, I'm really quite disciplined. So with the novel, I was in a little writing support group, and every month we had to send each other X amount of chapters. We'd read through each other's chapters and give each other feedback, and then meet up and have the feedback. So that was quite structured. And again, if I know I've got a project to do, I'm really quite structured. Everyone keeps saying to me, what's your next book going to be? But I'm so involved in the CIC at the moment. I haven't got time to actually think about a book at the moment. But what I do is I run a writing club called Pick Up Your Pen, which helps other writers stay on track as well. So we have Let's Write sessions where we turn up and say, this is what we're going to get doing this session. We get done, and then we come back at the end of the session and say, yeah, I got it done. Or we have writing exercises. So we had a meeting last week where we did a writing exercise, and it was brilliant because actually I felt like I'd done some creative writing for what felt the first time in a long time. So it's just that, so I have strategies to help me. So I think being in a writing club is a really good thing. I've also got another writing group I'm part of, and we're meeting on Wednesday. We have a different theme to write around each month. So I think things like that are really important to keep you, even if you're really busy and in other things and you're not actually focusing on a book to write, you're still having a purpose for writing. I think that's important. But I'll sometimes just pick up a pen and a notebook and just doodle in the day. I'm old school. I write in a notebook first, and then goes on the computer. So the kids often ask me in schools, it's question time, where do you do your writing? I said, well, I can do it anywhere because I do it in a notebook. So I can literally be anywhere. I love writing on the beach. I find the beach very inspiring.
Yeah, I think your environment's important. Do you ever have days when you struggle to write, and are you okay with that, or do you find that you can tap into it quite easily?
I'm generally okay. And if I'm not, then I generally find that a walk in the outdoors, in the park, nature is often a great way of grounding. Even if what you're writing about is nothing to do with nature, it's still a great thing just to get that fresh air, get the endorphins going, look up at the blue sky or the grey sky or whatever the colour of the sky is. Yeah, I think that's really important. And I think sometimes as well, a really good tip that I've shared before is if you start halfway down the page, if you don't know what to write, start halfway down the page, and it almost tricks your brain thinking, I've only got half a page to do, it'd be fine. Then or just write anything, just write gobbledygook, just write supercalifragilistic, and then eventually your words will just take over. Luckily, I've never really suffered writer's block.
Yeah. I think that there's quite a lot of authors who talk about what they do to help them on a day-by-day basis and when they write and little strategies. I think that halfway down the page is a good one, actually. And I don't know if you've heard about there's a book that you can get, isn't it, where you just write 3 pages of whatever first thing in the morning. I can't remember what it is. And he said, it doesn't matter what it is. Just write 3 pages of things, subconscious, whatever, nonsense. And it gets you going for the day. And I think there is some truth in that. That's brilliant. So tell us about your CIC then, because you've got your publishing, you've got your website for your books, etc., and resources on there. But you've also got a CIC, which is a community interest company. Now, I've set one up myself. And it's weird. Those 3 letters are becoming more widely known than, say, they were 10 years ago. So tell us about your CIC. And I think you've already mentioned it briefly, what you do, but what does that involve?
Yeah. So the CIC is called Split Perspectives CIC, but actually our biggest project that people know us for is called Build a Book. So basically he's not here. I was going to show you the mascot for that as well. But essentially it is, we put together creativity and literacy boxes, which we distribute across the city to children, generally children who are economically disadvantaged or need some support. Their families need some support. And we've received a lot of funding over the last couple of years to do that. And we also deliver workshops as well. So den building workshops. So our mascot Buxy is a build-a-bug. He's kind of like an ant, lives on a building site with his 5 insecty build-a-bug friends. And the children have to help to create a den. We've got this big den building equipment. So we go into schools. Mostly it's holiday clubs that we go to who receive funding. Then they invite us in. And the children help to make a new den for Buxy because his old one's blown down. And the idea is it's an imagination den. So once you're inside the imagination den, you can go anywhere you like in the world. You can be anything, you can do whatever you like. And these sessions are brilliant for teamwork, for problem solving, for creativity, for role play, for communication. They're great for simple intro into STEM, science, technology, engineering, maths. They're just great for all those kind of things. And what's been really, really great to see is that equally interested boys and girls. There's no kind of like, oh, I don't want to do anything. Everybody gets involved. It's really, really great. And the sessions we go to where the parents are there, they get involved too. They're like, oh, okay, I'm going to do a bit of that. And they're up and about as well. So that's really great. But recently we have received some funding to do some Eurovision packs and some Eurovision workshops. So starting tomorrow, we're out doing Eurovision workshops in holiday provision for Easter holidays, and we've got our packs going out across the city region as well. So yeah, it's really exciting, lots of interesting things going on, but the whole heart of it is Natalie and I are both passionate about the importance of creativity, literacy, imagination and mental health for children, because our last box actually before we did the Eurovision one was our Boat of Hope box. I don't know if you're aware of Bernie Hollywood.
Yeah, he's the one who's going around the world.
He's just finished. He crossed the finish line yesterday, the day before, 2:00 in the morning in Antigua, after 109 days of solo rowing across the Atlantic to raise money for child mental health. And so the last box supported that and Bernie's journey. And we've got an exhibition coming up in the Anglican Cathedral where his boat will be there and his story will be there. And we've got a workshop going on there. So that was, so we were involved in lots and lots of things around the city, but primarily it's all about children and families, encouraging children and family to spend quality time together with literacy, creativity, imagination, and improving mental health. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, that ticks all the boxes. And most of my podcasts are about mental health. And for me, creativity and mental health are inextricably linked. I know not everyone's like that. People's minds are different, etc. But to find expression and meaning in day-to-day life, I just think it's such a key part of of who you are as a person and what we are. Because you look at all early human societies, they all came up with this artwork and, you know, used religious language to describe where they were in the world. And you look at the song lines in the Aboriginal cultures. There was a fantastic book called The Song Lines by Bruce Chatwin. And it's a book, it's like a travel book, but a lot of it was creative and storytelling as well. And the history of humanity is full of creativity and storytelling and writing, the pursuit of writing and creativity. I mean, some of those early pictures of cave art going back like tens of thousands of years, it's just beautiful. And it just shows what our ancestors were like. And I think that's a big part of the human psyche today. And I think when I speak to young people who like don't read books and they don't want to read a book, etc., it does pain me. But do you reckon now, like reading the book's the new watching a film from beginning to end without stopping's the new reading a book because of the like attention span and all that kind of stuff? But it's a crazy world. But it sounds like you're very busy. So what's a normal week like for you then, Jude? Because it sounds like you don't have a normal structured week. So do you have loads going on? And how do you manage it all?
Yeah. So it just depends. I mean, at the moment, it's all Eurovision. So 2 weeks Eurovision workshops. Then after that, 2 weeks preparing the exhibition for the Eurovision. We're doing 2 exhibitions in the space of a month. It's insanity. But in a normal week outside of Eurovision, could be in school, you know, doing author visits, storytelling, creative writing workshops, drama workshops, any of those. I could be involved in some of the Liverpool Literacy Cycle meetings or events going on. I could be writing. I could be mentoring. I also mentor a couple of writers who are getting towards getting their first book published. So I could be doing some mentoring, obviously meeting the CIC team and talking about that. So there's never a week that's the same really. So, but the one thing that is always the same generally, apart from the next 2 weeks for Eurovision, is Mondays are my day off. They are our walking day. We block those out and we go walking and we walk, you know, and that's great. And I find that has really helped to keep my creativity going, because we go to places and, you know, you see things in nature, you think, oh, that looks really interesting. I'll make a note of that and maybe I'll write about that one day. So yeah, so that's the only thing that really does happen without fail every week on a Monday. The rest of it is, it's a bit of a free for all. But once I know my week, on a Friday, I block out what's happening for the following week. So once I know that, it's quite ordered to know what's coming up then. So I'm quite structured in that way. And I like to make sure I've got time to do everything, although that doesn't always happen.
No, but it sounds like a beautiful way to spend your life, though, doing different creative things and things you're passionate about. And I mean, it's always nice to know what's happening the next day and a week ahead. But I'm sure, like, you know, once you've got your diary sorted, it's just about a matter of allocating the right time to the right task. But well done. Keep up the good work with not only your own creativity, but sharing it with others and you know, helping disadvantaged people. And you produce a lot of resources for people to use as well. And you can access all those on your website, can't you?
Yeah. The Eurovision workshop activity book will be going up live on our Build a Book website this week. So people will be able to access that, even the ones who haven't been given the pack. So so they're all on the Build a Book website. I've got some resources on mine as well. So it's just juggling.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So what we'll do is we'll put your website on, and we'll put your CIC website on as well, and that's got details of your workshops and your resources and your books and everything you do. We can put some contact details as well if you're okay with that. Is there anything else that you want to mention? Because I think we've covered all the bases there.
Yeah, nothing really, other than, you know, just keep encouraging people to read. Visit your library; they're free, and we've got to keep them going. They're so important. You know, go to see the theatre, go and see live music. You know, it doesn't have to cost a lot. Go and see the local play at the local school, support them. You know, surround yourself with creativity. I think that's the main thing, because as we said before, it can be a lifesaver, literally. It can also open up opportunities for children, I think, who think, oh, the theatre's not for me, I can't do that. And then suddenly they see it and think, oh, actually, yeah, maybe I could. You know, opens up a world to them. And I think that's the most important thing. So yeah, just remember that, people. Spread the love about creativity and books.
Yeah, well, I couldn't agree more, and I generally love all things creative, and I'm looking to try to do more of that as I get older. I've got my little things which I do, etc. But one nice story I will tell is a few years ago, before I had my son. And I'm not saying that like kids are bad for your creativity, because they can actually enhance it in many ways, and you do creative things with your kids. So I read to my lad every night, and it's kind of cute and kind of cool, etc. To spend time being creative with youngsters. But I went to the theatre quite a bit to see, like, local theatre in Liverpool, etc. And I went to see a play, and there was a girl who was acting, and I used to teach her. And she was one of these quiet girls who looked like she was, like, quite nice and wanted to do her work, never caused any trouble. And I went up to at the end and went, I used to teach you. And she went, oh God, recognized me. And I said, I'm so made up to see you're doing acting, you know what I mean? Absolutely brilliant. And she was at university, I think, in central Lancashire in Preston. There she was on the stage. So
Amazing.
there's a lot of people who go through the school system, and they might not always find that creativity, but yeah, it doesn't matter what stage of your life you're in. Creativity is there on your shoulder, and embrace it, because it just makes life richer, doesn't it, and more enjoyable. So well done for what you're doing, Jude. Right, so we'll put all your details in the podcast notes then. I think we've covered everything. I mean, I could talk about creativity for 1,000 years and favourite books and all that stuff, but it's good to get your message out as well, as a local author, and also a local campaigner for literacy and creativity, particularly with disadvantaged groups. So well done. Keep up the good work, and thanks for coming on today.
No, thanks, a pleasure. Thanks for having me. Pleasure
No worries.
to talk.